Okay, I guess I'm doing this. So hi, my name is Angel and I just graduated from college. I'm 22. Right now I'm in the States. I am in Washington, Seattle. I was born and raised in Taiwan, but I am not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about my first relationship. That lasted for a little over 5 years, from high school until college, and the long distance was throughout college, so up until before I graduated. The distance is probably more than 3.5 years. And a little bit about my own family background. I grew up in a Christian family, so growing up, I guess my parents installed this relationships can wait, true love can wait kind of value, and I kind of kept that for myself too, because part of me hearing these breakup stories from my friends just made me really scared. Like, I'm very scared of losing people, even though throughout life I haven't really experienced loss at all much. So losing someone is just a scary thought to me. And so I really didn't think I was gonna be ready to date until maybe college or even after college, because I know my parents met way after they graduated. And I was okay with that. I was okay with waiting. Granted, every relationship is different, everyone is different, so this is just about my personal experience, and I know this is probably going to be a pretty long video. I went to an international high school, and as a teenage girl, of course, you have all these crushes, you know, but I still wasn't sure if I wanted to really date because I knew that I was still young. Then this guy that I was friends with for a very long time at the time, he started to, I guess, stand out. And I'm not gonna go into the details, but all I can say is I really did not expect myself to end up with him, just because he was a really close friend, but I wasn't ready to, I guess, lose him as a friend. I was really scared that what if we didn't work out? Like, I really like you as a friend, but if we don't work out, then I won't even be able to be friends with you, and I don't want that. So it was a pretty tough decision because I have no prior dating experience, and I knew that we might even have to part ways after high school because there's no telling if we'll end up going to the same college. So it was a risk, and in the end I decided to give us a chance and to try because I really did like him. So after being together for a 1.5 years in high school, we graduated. In college, I went to UIUC in Illinois, and he flew to Washington, Seattle. So we were far apart. America is huge. It's not fun, but we would call each other every night before going to bed, and we actually did that even before we started our long distance. We actually did that probably a little before we even started dating. Like, we would just call and chat before going to bed. I don't know. I'm a pretty bad texter, so I guess talking on the phone was just easier. Of course, we were out of the honeymoon phase by the time we started long distance, but I think the distance kind of just makes you want the extra attention, or at least I know I did. And I noticed how I was actually pretty needy and emotionally dependent on him. So after I started noticing that about me, I started to re-examine myself in the relationship and how I was probably putting a lot of pressure on him. So the first few months, I want to say, of long distance was really hard, but then I started to, I guess, switch up my own mentality, because I knew that he had other priorities in his life, like academics. So I figured I should also try to focus more on my life, on my campus, because he's not here. So I should just make use of my time here on campus. So I started to get really involved in a lot of things. I joined 2 dance crews, one that I even took part in, super involved in, became president. And I also joined a social sorority. I know stereotypes against sororities, but maybe I'll talk about this in another video, because my experience in my sorority really changed me for the better. So I want to talk about that probably in another video. And so yeah, I got super busy. I gained a lot more friends. So I became a lot less needy. Me and him, we both kind of sucked at texting. So at the end of the day, we would call each other at the end of the night, which was a little hard because of the 2-hour difference. So oftentimes I find myself staying up a little later. I would usually sleep around 1 or 2 because that's his 11 or 12. And honestly, I was kind of okay with it because my classes started later and I just wanted him to get done with whatever he had to do for the day. And then I really wanted us to talk before like going to bed. Usually we would just talk about our day, or not even, we would just chill and play some games on our phones or watch an episode of something. I don't know. It's usually not like super intense talking. But yeah, seeing each other during breaks is a big deal because with the distance, that's all you're looking forward to. So I flew to Seattle every Thanksgiving, all 4 Thanksgivings. And for the 3 spring breaks, we were first in California, then Illinois. He visited my campus, that was the only time, and New York. And we didn't make it to the last spring break this past semester, but I'm not here to talk about the breakup, so back to the relationship. During those years of distance, I think the hardest thing for me was when I felt like I was not as prioritized, even if that's not the case. How you feel is very hard to brush away, and I think it might not be true, it might just be differences. But when I felt that way, I always told him. Consistency is really important, and this goes for both sides. Like, you don't need to be super romantic every single day, but it's nice to let the other person know that you are as invested in a relationship, no matter how invested you are in what you're doing, wherever you are. Distance isn't even the problem. Even without distance, 2 people can still feel distant if they don't spend enough time together or show affection towards each other when need be. I think it's the little things that count and things that show you care for the person and the relationship. So even though mine didn't work out, I think long distance relationships aren't just doable. They're great because they challenge the 2 people that are in the relationship to actually be emotionally connected, like that love. A lot of people say like, oh, I can't do long distance because I need the physical attention. But like, hey, without the love and bond only between the 2 people, you can easily fade out and look for that physical attraction or attention somewhere else, because yeah, there are millions of fish in the sea, there are people everywhere, but if you really love someone, the distance is just nothing. So yeah, I also think long distance relationships are good because it tests your emotional independence and mutual trust. I am reading from something, that's why I sound very prepared. I am. Trust is key to every relationship. With distance, I think it brings trust to a whole new level because you need to trust that the other person is committed to the relationship. And how do you earn that trust? By committing. And again, it's the little things that show that you care. When you trust each other, not only are you giving each other reasonable space to be independent, you are also respecting the relationship and respecting the commitment that you made to keep the trust between the two of you. And another super important thing is, like in every relationship, in life, like in general, you gotta have open communication. And I know that not everyone talks about feelings and all that gushy emotional stuff, but when you're in a relationship, it's just so important for you to open up about everything, like honestly everything. And I think guys are more often than girls under this social pressure where you shouldn't be emotional or you shouldn't be needy, you shouldn't be sad. But no, like both guys and girls are allowed to feel whatever it is that you feel. And when you feel something, you just have to say it. Like you gotta be honest. You can't just be like, I'm mad, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna expect them to. I don't even know. Just don't do that. Don't hold it in yourself and expect the other person to just get it, because no. Just talk about it. Be honest with each other. It's not that hard, and trust and honesty just go hand in hand. Because if you're not honest, how do you expect the other person to trust you? And you can't keep breaking that trust, because one day that person can choose to stop trusting you. And even if a person continues to trust you, no matter how many times you break that trust, you cannot take advantage. You should not take advantage of that trust and take that trust for granted. Just don't do it. Don't take each other for granted. Okay? Always be honest. It's not that hard. It's really not. Just talk. Another thing is making sacrifices in relationships, even friendships. When you're happy with someone, I think sacrifices don't even feel that hard to make, because if it's something that can make the relationship better, to make the other person happy, make the two of you happy, then why not? And I saw a video that Will Smith posted, and he talked about how you should never depend on the other person to make you happy. I think that's so important, because you need to make yourself happy. And in life, you are responsible for your own happiness. When you're with someone, you should both learn how to build each other up and to add on to each other's happiness, but not ask for it from the other person. Our happiness should not be based on whether we're with someone or not. And it cannot be the base of our life. And last but not least, never make the person your everything. I know we say, oh, this person is my world, I can't live without them. Like all these like cliche love sayings that we say, but you need to be content and happy with your own life, and to share that with someone else does not mean that you are completely putting your own happiness into their hands. So when someone asks me how they can prepare for a long distance relationship, honestly, I don't know what to tell you, because it's hard. Like if you ask me, should I do this? I'm like, well, if you love that person, this shouldn't be a question, because yes, it's hard, and like having the distance between you and the person that you love and want to be with, it's hard. But when you love that person, honestly, the distance is the last thing on my mind, and it's harder to imagine being without them than to go through this distance. Plus, we're super lucky to be living in a world where instant communication is possible and affordable most of the time. So distance is not the end of a relationship, honestly. It just means that if you get through this distance, the relationship will be stronger. And even if you do break, you would learn from it, just like every other relationship. And I know I did, because this was my first relationship, and I was in it way before I was emotionally independent. I was a little teenager, not knowing what I wanted to be, where I was gonna go, but I've learned so much about myself and about self-love. A question that I often got when I was in the long-distance relationship was, don't you run out of things to talk about? Well, sure, but I think that's with everyone, like even family. I know some people like hardly talk to their family, which to me is crazy. But when you're in a relationship, it's not always about finding something new to talk about. A lot of the times I feel like it's just the presence of each other. You just enjoy having each other's companies, even if it's not physical, even if it's just on the phone call, quietly doing your own thing, and you see that person on the screen doing their thing. That's just all that matters, like you sharing, being a part of each other's lives. I think that's just it, the presence of each other. And if you're in a long distance relationship and you start fighting about stuff like it doesn't feel the same, one person isn't putting as much effort into the relationship, I think this isn't just long distance relationship, this is every relationship. Normal couples fight about the imbalance in relationships too, and I think it's because people just give and receive love differently. There are so many ways to show that you love someone, and when you don't know the standards and establish these with each other, it's easy to feel out of balance in a relationship. So again, communication. Just talk about these feelings and talk about how you guys can somehow meet in the middle. Me and him, we were very different. We were very, very different. I am very expressive, very emotional, while he is very not. But I think we were able to push past those differences for the longest time because I really would force him to talk about what he was feeling. I'm pretty patient, I would say, and he was patient too because obviously I have a lot of emotions, and so he was understanding too. Again, I'm not here to talk about how we broke up, but I just wanted to say that differences are okay. They are normal, and sometimes better, because when you're too similar, things can go wrong too. Loving yourself is so important, and I can't say this enough. Like, you have to know that you deserve love and that you are loved by people in your life, by God, and you should be loved by yourself, because if you don't, even when the right person shows up one day to give you the love that you deserve, you might miss it or be too afraid to hold on to it, thinking that you're not worth it when you are. I've always believed that we can always learn something from each other. No matter our differences, we can always learn something from someone else's experience. No one is perfect. No relationship is. So just know that everything can be worked out, and every heartache can and will eventually heal. I'm still going through that process right now, and it takes time. It will take time, I know that. But I also know that everything happens for a reason, and I have faith in God and in God's love. So I know that everything will be okay, that you will be okay. We will all be okay as long as you keep holding on to the people that love you and to life like you have on life. So live it to the fullest every single day, and don't waste time. You know, even though I'm no professional, I'm not some relationship expert, but I'd like to think that I've learned a lot, and hopefully I can help some of you that are going through long distance relationships or just relationships in general. And whether you know me in person or not, feel free to reach out, because I'm always willing to listen or share, and I'm always willing to give people the pep talk that I know I needed. And yeah, I wish you all the very best and all the love that you deserve.